My name is Jennifer Fawcett, and I have the pleasure of emceeing the PGME Office Orientation this morning for NOSM University. I'm going to say a few welcome introductions this morning and monitor the transitions between speakers. A little bit about myself. I'm the Senior Director for the Postgrad Medical Education and Health Sciences portfolio at NOSM, which means I work closely with the Postgrad Dean, Associate Dean, in overseeing the PGME Office. You'll meet many people over the coming days, most of which are PGME staff and faculty who are going to be welcoming you into your programs and some of the learner support services. And we look forward very much to these coming days. And of course, our academic health science and community hospital partners will also be welcoming you. So this is just the beginning of some initial presentations to welcome you either to NOSM University for the first time or back to NOSM University for your residency training. I'm going to do a land acknowledgement before we begin. And I will also invite you all to put in the chat, if you're so inclined, where you're calling from today, your UME school, the program you've entered, and where you are based in Northern Ontario. NOSM University respectfully acknowledges that the entirety of the university's wider campus of Northern Ontario is on the homelands of First Nations and Métis peoples. The university buildings, where we are, and we do hope there will be more in the future, are located on the territory of Fort William First Nation and Thunder Bay and the Anishinaabe Nation, specifically Atikameksheng and Wanapitei First Nations in Sudbury. And of course, there are many other locations in Northern Ontario where we're calling in from today. I'm calling in from Treaty 3, which is where my family originates from. So again, welcome you. Please put your name and your undergrad school and your home base in Northern Ontario into the chat. We won't have an opportunity to do round introductions, but it's a nice way to see all of the places in Northern Ontario where you will be. And please turn your cameras on if you're so inclined as well. We'd love to see you this morning. So this morning's agenda is that we will have a number of presentations from senior leadership, starting with the President, Vice Chancellor, Dean, and CEO of NOSM. We'll move into a discussion with Margaret French, who will be talking about a very important NOSM University entry survey that goes on annually that helps us to track our outcomes, and we hope you'll all be participating. I will then move into a very special introduction for myself, because I do know this resident, Dr. Sabrina Slade, who is going to bring some remarks from PARO, one of the best organizations in my perspective in terms of resident support, and a really good advocate and ally for NOSM University. Dr. Sherry Mongeon will give an introduction to the NOSM University Learner Support Services, which we work with closely, and Dr. Diane Whitney and Scott Fisher, who is the Senior Learner Affairs Officer, will talk about the importance of resident wellness and the services we offer, and we'll wrap up with an important address by the Postgrad Associate Dean, Dr. Robert Anderson. There'll be lots of information today. Again, it's just the beginning. It's just a pointing to welcoming and where to find information. You'll need information throughout the entirety of your residency program. The PGME office staff has prepared a number of frequently asked questions for things that you'll need to know, such as getting paid back for travel, how to access various services, your payroll, all the nuts and bolts. Those will all be sent to you in links. Today's really about welcoming and not about overwhelming with information, but importantly, showing you where to find information and the key people who will help you throughout your residency at NOSM. So with that, I would like to turn it over to our President, Vice Chancellor, Dean, and CEO of NOSM University, Dr. Sarita Verma.
Good morning. Welcome. Ani, bonjour. Hello. Bienvenue. I'm Dr. Sarita Verma, and as Jennifer Fawcett said, I'm the President, Vice Chancellor, Dean, and CEO. It's a business card that needs a fold out, actually. But I really am delighted to be here today, and welcome for those of you who are joining NOSM University for the first time, and those of you who are returning home to NOSM U. We're Canada's first and only freestanding medical university. We're young. We're really not that old. In fact, as of today, I think we're just 89 days old, having been proclaimed as a university on April 1st. But as a postgraduate, we're well into this for a decade. compared to all the other medical schools in the country, that's still very young, new, and you know what? We're positive disruptors. Naltam University is dedicated to two words that you, as returning physicians, and those who are joining us will get to know. These two words are social accountability. And I'm pleased that you're with us because our graduates make a huge difference at this extraordinary university. And you will be completing your training in medicine going into practice in the best and most highest regarded programs in Canada. So I have 5 themes to share with you, and you're going to get a lot of this kind of unsolicited advice over the course of the day, and some of it is pretty repetitive, but I hope that you understand that we really do care about you. Residency and the transition to residency can be challenging, and you're coming into a part of the world where you're actually mostly on your own. You are adult learners who are functioning in the community. They really need you. We're in a crisis in Northern Ontario. Emergency rooms are closing. The post-pandemic, continuing pandemic burnout is a challenge, and physicians are considered to be a very valuable group of people. And we really want to make sure that you stay well and that you still achieve your goals. So, my theme number 1 is never worry alone. I have a saying for you as residents, never worry alone. You know, I'll tell you what my postgrad dean told me, although it was probably 40 years ago, the same thing and repeated it many days afterwards. He said, ask questions and share your concerns. And even though you're trying to enjoy it, remember residency is an incredible time, but you're not alone. And if you don't know what's going on, talk to somebody. If you see, you know, like I did on the first day in my, what was then internship, and I had a chief resident, and we were both looking at this patient who had this giant mass on in their subscapular region, and we couldn't figure it out, and they thought it might be something called a scrofula. I'll let you look that up. But the truth was, we had each other, we looked and talked to each other, and we had a whole team. And really, never worry alone. You can always reach out to Jennifer, myself, Rob, your program director, your site director. There are a lot of people here, and you're going to hear that a lot today. Theme number 2 is the idea of juggling versus balance. For me, juggling has been a better description of life and life in medicine rather than balance. And at any moment in life, you're focused on one of the things that you were juggling, always knowing where the other things are and what will need attention at any given moment. So during a cardiac arrest, you're actually focused on that patient. But when you go home post call, you're focused on perhaps getting up early and getting some exercise or seeing your family that you may not have seen for a day and a half. So, very much, whatever you're doing at the moment, juggling is important, and finding the rhythm while you're juggling is important. If I don't have that juggling ability, sometimes I find myself struggling to achieve that, even now. And I'll be looking inattentively at the screen at Netflix and not paying attention to anything, not being cognitively or emotionally present, but only just being physically there. When you have moments like that, there will be a lot of resources that will be available to you, but especially your own mindfulness. Theme number 3, get the paperwork, and in this case it's virtual paperwork, but get the paperwork done. You're going to get a lot of emails from your program and from the postgrad office with information about your program, credentialing, getting licenses, renewing your licenses every year, how you get paid, as Jennifer said, very important, and what you need to do to fill that out. It's easy to get lost in a sea of documents that have to be filled out on the EMR, and make the time on the EMR to finish your notes, to finish your orders. You know, be sure to make sure that you get it done, because otherwise you fall back really quickly and time travels fast. So, theme number 3, get the virtual paperwork done. Fill out and answer the emails. Theme 4, it's a little play on eat, pray, love, but it's really eat, rest, love. There'll be a lot of bittersweet beginnings and endings over the next 2 to 5 or 8 years if you're in a subspecialty program. And although you see it on TV, you know, how you tell somebody in their family that someone has died when you actually have to do it and you're the only resident there, or you're the resident in the emerge or in the ICU, or you're actually in the family practice and you're giving someone that diagnosis without anyone else next to you. These are moments that will live with you. So remember, take care of yourself, eat, rest, and find time for that free time with your loved ones and your family. Focusing on your wellness, as Dr. Whitney and others will tell you, is an investment in yourself as a physician now. And then finally, theme number 5 is be proud, be professional, be socially accountable. You know, one day you're the clerk following and tailing behind the resident and trying to, in any way to help them out and hoping that they'll like you. And the next day you're the doctor. On June 30th, you're still not a resident. The next day you're the doctor with a license and with all the responsibilities. You're trying to decide, do you give this patient a dose of Seroquel? Or that might prolong their QTC and send them into an arrhythmia and eventually possibly a cardiac arrest? Or how do you treat the acute hypertensive patient? Do you increase the morning amlodipine or add a stat dose of lisinopril? I mean, if you don't know what I'm talking about, then maybe I'm just talking gibberish, but look it up. Remember one thing from the diagrams of the loop of Henle and the dark haze of boredom during the medical school nephrology lectures. And it was really, how do you manage acute hypertension? How do you manage depression in the context of cardiac disease? Many of things will actually be feeling overwhelming, but remember, you have time and never worry alone. You can always ask somebody for help. The fear that the decisions will all be on you actually starts to become the challenge of learning that the process of medicine is lifelong learning. It is important to be proud. This university is incredibly proud of you. You're amongst the most amazing people who chose us, and we chose you. Professionalism will be extremely important, especially in the context of communities where people are going to be increasingly stressed by the cost of gas, the fact that they may or may not have COVID, and they're sick and tired of COVID, by the way, the fact that they suffer from mental health and addictions, and in Northern Ontario, that's really actually the pandemic within the pandemic. But it's important to realize you're in the most remarkable place. We have a high incidence of Indigenous persons who are survivors of Truth and Reconciliation and survivors of residential schools. We have a very unique Francophone population, and we have a rural, remote Northern population, which is actually painfully beautiful, incredibly spectacular. Take advantage of it. And remember, your social accountability is to taking care of those people. But means that when you're tired, be kind, be human, and importantly, recognize that you're in one of the most precious professions in the world. It's a privilege for you to care for people, and it's a privilege for us to have you with us. Miigwech, merci beaucoup. I'm delighted to meet all of you. It's very hard as your dean to ever see you again. Generally, I don't see you unless you're in trouble after this, so don't get into trouble. But I hope that if you do have any social events or you want me to come and visit, let me know. And normally I see you when I'm out on the road and I'm in your community, and I usually share a meal with you. So, miigwech, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. All the best and good luck. Thank you, Jennifer. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Verma. Advice from the Dean is always appreciated, and your comments, I'm sure, have resonated with this new group of residents. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to shift gears and introduce Margaret, or I think also known as Maggie French, who will talk to you about the Nautilus University Residency Entry Survey and the importance of this work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Yes, my name is Margaret French. You may call me Maggie. It's It's a privilege to speak on the heels of Dr. Verma. So I'm just going to bring this up. Hopefully we don't run into any technical difficulties. And in the background, that is my little monster who's on her way to school. So she'll be leaving us shortly. You won't have to listen to her. Can everybody see this? Can I get a thumbs up, Jennifer? Perfect. Okay. So we're here today to talk briefly about the postgraduate entry survey, also known as the multi-year tracking survey of NOSM University students and graduates. So yes, it is a mouthful. So this survey does take approximately 30 minutes of your time. It really depends on your answers. For those of you who are NOSM graduates, you probably remember me from April talking to you about this survey. So if you did complete an exit survey, it may only take you about 15 minutes of your time. Now this tracking study looks on three major areas. We're interested in academic interests and expectations, your career plans and preferences, as well as your views about NOSM University and your learning experiences. The methodology, as we cover NOSM University learners and undergraduates. So when you first begin your medical journey or medical school journey at orientation first year, then again at residency, so back in April. Right now during your, again at graduation, exit graduation, and then at residency. So today, and as once you finish your residency program, whether that's in 2 to 5 years, depending on the length of your program that you're doing, as well as beyond. Now, this project has had REB approval from both Lakehead University and Laurentian University. While we're in this transition period towards being the independent institution, we are still getting our REB approval from our previous host universities. What methods are available to complete this? Well, you will be receiving shortly a web-based copy, a Qualtrics survey, or if you prefer, an electronic version can be emailed to you at your NOSM email account. Do you have to participate? Absolutely not. It is strictly voluntary. You can withdraw at any time. You can refuse any question you don't wish to answer. All I ask is that you let me know that you don't wish to participate. So when you receive the email, just a quick email back saying I do not wish to participate, and then I won't bother you anymore with follow-up reminders. You will notice on the survey that we ask for your name. This is done for a couple of reasons. The most important is that it helps me do my job. So it assists with my tracking. So we send out email reminders to non-respondents, ask them to complete the survey. And then everyone who provides their name will be entered into a draw for a $50 gift card to Chapters. Another important question we're often asked is, does NOSM University faculty or admin have access to the data? No, they do not. It's stored in the Office of Institutional Intelligence. That's the unit that I work at. Faculty and admin do not have access to completed questionnaires, no responses in the database. Research results cannot and will not be used to assess individual learners, and only aggregate data from the survey is reported or shared in presentations. So you should be receiving an email momentarily. I had it sent, scheduled to be sent out at 8:20 this morning. So please check your NOSM email if you have access to that now. You'll receive an email that says something like, from Margaret French, invitation to the Northern Ontario School of Medicine multi-year tracking study of students and graduates. If you did not receive this email and you feel that you should have, please just either drop me a line in the chat or send me an email. And I will make sure that you should be on my list. The list I was using was one that was provided to me by the PGME office, which doesn't get finalized until the 30th. So I apologize if you were not on it, and you should have been. And again, here's my contact information. I'm around, I'll be around for the next hour or so. So again, if you didn't receive that email, just let me know, and I will monitor the chat. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? I will take the resounding silence as no, but I did actually want to touch upon Dr. Verma's note about how she had indicated that one of the things you need to do is to do the paperwork, so the virtual paperwork. So this is your chance to get started on that virtual paperwork right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. I think Dr. Barma spoke to every administrator's heart when she said, please do the paperwork. So the virtual paperwork, we agree. Thank you so much for that presentation. And again, we'll just sort of reiterate the importance of participating if you so choose to. It really helps to NOSM to demonstrate our outcomes to the ministry, to our communities, to our funders, and most importantly, sort of true to our mission to see where our graduates are tracking and going throughout their careers. So it's very important work. Thank you so much for that. I'm just going to check. We are ahead of schedule, which is great and unusual. I'm not sure if Dr. Sabrina Slade has joined us yet. I'm just checking in. Don't see Sabrina online. David, not yet. Okay. Sabrina is actually due to begin her Paro introduction around 8:40, so we may not have Sabrina. So I'm going to ask Dr. Whitney and Scott Fisher, would you be willing to move ahead in the agenda and start your presentation?
Is Dr. Sherry Mongeau, is she on?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm looking at an agenda that may have been.
No, it's okay, Jen. Sherry is unable to join us yet at this time. I've sent a reminder to her, so if we can start with Scott and Dr. Whitney.
Good morning.
And we'll
I'm
catch back
here.
up. Oh, Sherry, thank you.
Oh, okay, excellent. So without further ado, I'll introduce Dr. Sherry Mongeau, who is the Director of Learner Support Services, and she will begin with some remarks about the role of Learner Support Services and then hand it over to an introduction to Dr. Diane Whitney, who's the Assistant Dean of Resident Affairs, works closely with a former Psychiatry Program Director, and Mr. Scott Fisher, who is a Senior Learner Affairs Officer, and they will describe their support services. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks very much, Jennifer. Apologies for trying to speak when I was on mute, indicating I was here to join the session. So thank you again for including me in your PGME orientation. I greatly appreciate the invite. And I'm excited to be here as the Interim Director of Learner Support Services. I do have a few brief slides, so I'm just going to share my screen at the moment. Just make sure that you can see my content, okay? Excellent. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Appreciate it. So again, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Sherry Mongeau. I'm the Interim Director of Learner Support Services. And I just wanted to give a quick overview of, if I can get my slides to go, second, of who we are. Still not moving, eh? Sorry, slides don't work. Stop sharing and try. Right. There we go. Sorry, it got there eventually. So who are we in Learner Support Services? So Learner Support Services, previously, before we became NOSM University, was Learner Affairs, and we supported the undergraduate medical education students. Now that we're NOSM University, Learner Support Services is a university-wide portfolio, and we're very excited about bridging that gap between the undergrad and the post-grad, and also supporting the no-dip learners and the graduate study learners as well. So Learner Support Services does sit under the Office of the Registrar. Currently, we have 4 Learner Affairs Officers, and Scott, who is here with you today, is the Senior Learner Affairs Officer with the Postgraduate Medical Education Office. We have 2 financial aid support workers. We have a Learner Support Services Coordinator, an administrative assistant, and we're in the process of hiring our accessibility advisor, and who will support those students who have requirements for accommodations. So as the Director of Learner Support Services, just a little bit about me. I did complete a master's in interdisciplinary health. I hold a PhD in rural and northern health. And previously, I was a senior learner affairs officer in the unit for over 5 years. So student supports are provided to all learners for all NOSM students. And so part of the, under my portfolio, we look at urgent wellness assistance. We deal with reporting and disclosing mistreatment, health and wellness services, and we're currently looking to moving towards a new provider, Homewood Health. And I'll go through a little bit of that and the accessibility services. So health and wellness services, Homewood Health. So we're very excited that this is a new service that's going to be provided to all learners, which includes all the residents. And it's much more of a learner-centered EAP service. And so they have short-term counseling, face-to-face counseling, online CBT for depression and anxiety disorders, telephone counseling. They have a chat e-counseling service, which is fantastic because you will all be able to have this on your phone. You'll have your own dashboard. It's very intuitive. There'll be crisis management, life smart coaching, and some of the online services and resources include access to life support, health and risk assessment, online health and wellness library. Among, there's just a real multitude of services that are provided. And the one nice thing about Homewood Health is it really does support the EDI lens, so that equity and diversity of all of our learners. And so services are provided in many different languages. And so we're very excited to be moving this forward. The other thing that I will note is that we did go through PARA and make sure that the PARA reps were happy with the services that are included in this package, and they did sign off on this. So we're very excited about moving this forward. Learner mistreatment. So NOSM University is committed to excellence in teaching, learning, and research, and to the maintenance of a learning and work environment that promotes understanding and respect for dignity. So as part of the NOSM University community, every single individual has the right to an environment that is free from harassment and discrimination while protecting academic freedom, including the rights of freedom of expression and inquiry. Now, you have the right to report disclosed mistreatment. You can report it anonymously. You can report it, in a confidential and safe space. This link, and I'll say this here, I'm assuming the slides will be shared with all of you, but this link brings you directly to our online reporting system. Through this reporting system, you can select if there's somebody in particular that you would like to see the report go to. All of the reports of learner mistreatment do filter through me as the Director of Learner Support Services, and I do a lot of triage with that. And so part of this is to maintain the distinct, the ability to be distinct from the program, the academic side of the house. And we really want you to feel safe and respected in reporting any learner mistreatment. Now, that does not stop you from going to any single person within the program. We always say that no door is the wrong door. If you feel you need to report mistreatment, please feel free to report it to somebody who you're comfortable with, and they will absolutely make sure that that information is filtered and brought forward to the appropriate individuals within NOSM University. Accommodations at NOSM University. So again, this is a brand new process. We have our accommodations committee that now provides services to all learners, including the UME, PGME, No-DIP, and the master's program. As I mentioned earlier, we are in the process of hiring an accessibility advisor who will be responsible for the intake and collection of information, help support a learner through any request for accommodation. And again, I've provided the link for the direct, to all the policies and the procedures. What's nice about this is, again, you can certainly approach Scott Fisher as your Learner Affairs Officer. You can go to Diane Whitney as the Assistant Dean Resident Affairs. But ultimately, the Accessibility Advisor is the confidential space in which you will provide any documentation to support the need for an accommodation at NOSM University. So the priority for learner support services, absolutely to provide all learners with access to wellness supports. So we're in the process of developing what's called the Virtual Health and Wellness Hub. And this Virtual Health and Wellness Hub will be something that all learners will be able to access. We're looking at financial wellness, spiritual wellness, physical wellness, academic, career, There's many opportunities here, and we're hoping to be ready to launch this as early as this upcoming fall. And so we really want to establish a network of services across all of the learning sites. We know that all of you can be distributed across Northern Ontario, so it's really important for us in learner support services to ensure that no matter where you are, you will have the support that you need. And so one of this, the important parts of this is, again, going back to the new EAP services, where you'll be able to have a dashboard that's easily accessible for all of you to, ensure that you're getting the support you need when you're having any forms of difficulties. And of course, the foundation of the hub will be the website, which will be also connected to the wellness app. And that wellness app, again, gives many features, that you can access a lot of these health and wellness services. So a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. Congratulations on making it to residency. Very excited that you're starting, and I look forward to interacting and meeting with all of you as you move forward through your residency program. And you're never alone, so your feedback does matter. If you need anything, please never hesitate to reach out to myself. I'm always open and welcome to hear what you have to say. So I'm available for any questions. Jennifer, I'm not sure if they're coming now or later, but however you'd like to see that work.
Thank you, Sherry. If any residents have any questions they want to pose now, we'll pause for a moment. Generally, our experience sometimes in these initial is that people are quiet, and the questions sort of come as you move through these several days. And as Sherry's indicated, the Learner Support Services is always open and welcoming of your questions. Just pause and okay. Well, we shall move to Dr. Whitney and Mr. Scott Fisher.
So if we can get the slides up, just for you to use them for some structure. Somebody's got those. I think, Scott, you were going to lead off.
Yes, I will. Sorry, it's just getting to the unmute. But yes, so I will load up the slides and then we'll get started.
And we'll introduce ourselves as the presentation goes on in a little bit more detail, which I think is helpful.
Excellent. So thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm very excited as the senior LAO to be part of this orientation and to have the opportunity to present to you, the residents, as we move along with your journey. So I will start the presentation and I will talk a little bit about residents' wellness and the PGME side of the house in terms of that. So our vision, and this closed captioning, I'm going to move to the side. There we go. So our vision is to create a supportive learning environment. As Dr. Mongeau was mentioning prior to us, is that we're here for you. Learner Support Services, myself as the LAO, are here to support you. And we can support in many different ways. So we want to help create a safe learning environment. We want to have healthy, productive residents. We want to have effective transitions. Some of you are NOSM learners. Some of you are not. Some of you are coming from other schools, other regions, other centers. And so we want to help you have an effective transition, whatever that may be in terms of supports we can provide to you. Professional identity development and overall well-being. So those are some of our visions and some of our goals that we have as we work together as a team. So myself and Dr. Whitney and our program coordinator work very much as a team, and we work together to try and create the best experience for you as the resident as possible from a wellness perspective. And so why is wellness relevant? And we had the CMA National Health Survey revealed that residents had a higher rates than other physicians of burnout, depression, and other aspects too as well. This was updated in November 2021, and more than half of physicians and learners have experienced burnout compared to 30% in 2017. And so we've seen an increase in that. And some of that's related to COVID, some of it's related to other aspects as well. And 46% of physicians are considering reducing their workload. And so we look at some of these numbers and we look at some of the environment, And we know how important wellness is. And Nawsum University has dedicated these resources. So my position is fairly new to Nawsum, and it's part of the whole school approach in providing greater supports to our residents and our learners. And so I'm dedicated solely for residents and the NODIP, Northern Ontario Dietetic Intern Program, and I'm here for you. And so we are here to help you with that. And so some of the common challenges that we have or that we've seen are academic challenges, isolation. For Northern Ontario, for those that are from Northern Ontario or have experienced on the UME side through Nawsum, Northern Ontario is quite expansive. A lot of trees, swamps, and rocks in between places. Some places where it's a fly in, fly out. So we see that sometimes the isolation is the feeling of isolation is greater. And then you compound that with COVID over the last couple of years. Geography, as I mentioned, Northern Ontario is 800,000 square kilometers, roughly. And we have a distributed system where sites are located all over throughout that 800,000 square kilometers. Fatigue risk management, there is a policy on that, but we have expertise within the team on fatigue risk management and burnout. Personal challenges, events, as I say, life happens, and we want to be there for you. We want to be there to help and support you when life happens. And working with preceptors, and then again, COVID-19. COVID-19 has not gone away. It's still there. And so it's something that we learn to work with and live with as we move through residency. And we're here to support you through that. So a little bit about us, the Wellness Office under PGME. So again, my name is Scott Fisher. Just to give you a little bit about my background. So I completed a master's in industrial organizational psychology, or what we call IO Psych, from Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado. My background is in workforce integration, workforce development, human rights, employment law, employment standards, and working on a policy level in scope. I have been called as an expert assessor through an employment assessment program in Birmingham, Alabama. I have done work across the border and here, as I said, provincially, nationally as well. So that's where my background comes from, is from the workforce integration, human rights, employment, and law and legislation. And I'll let Dr. Whitney speak to her background.
So, excuse me, currently I'm an associate professor with the Northern Ontario School of Medicine and assistant dean of resident affairs, which is a new wellness plus some other administrative positions as well. But what I do in my other life is I'm a community-based psychiatrist in Thunder Bay. I do anxiety, depression, and PTSD. And I've been running a long-term mindfulness group. That's actually on Zoom. So if any residents are interested in doing something like that, and I've been quite involved with physician health over my career in treating physicians. And then also I've been I was the program director for psychiatry. I come from Southern Ontario, so if you need somebody to talk to about transitions to the north, and it took me 2 years to figure out that a wood burning furnace was actually outside the stove, outside the house, and someone was burning wood in it. So there's a few unique features to Northern Ontario that you may want to learn about. One other piece of background, if there's anybody on the call that's either MOTP or MMTP, I'm a former MOTP officer of 7 years with a husband who served 17, and I know there's some people sort of floating through the system. I'm available for that as well. So that's a little bit about me. You want me to do the next couple, Scott? Next one.
Excellent, thank you. And I myself am also not from Northern Ontario originally, so there are some little difference between a camp and a cottage and little things like that. we can help
right.
with that.
Okay. So it moves on a little bit to what we do. So the next slide, Scott, I think you've got it. So there's two of us now for wellness, and I think that works out well. I mean, different hours, different perspectives. You can reach both of us, either of us, and at times Scott and I will meet together with the residents, and at times we'll meet alone. I've helped out some of the residents from my former program director, because yes, I do know what an EPA is, and I think that's helpful. So I have one resident wellness email that's there, and Scott's is very similar to mine as well. We can help with referrals in a number of different ways, and we have more resources than we used to. There's Dr. Charette is a psychologist who's based out of Sudbury, but I don't think that matters virtually. And she is funded by NOSM and supported by NOSM financially. We've developed relationships with 2 medical psychotherapists, or used to be called GP psychotherapists, family physicians with extra training, who provide psychotherapy, and one of them in particular, cognitive behavioral therapy. So it widens out the pool. The OMA PHP is there for more difficult situations. Right. So, I mean, we've got, I think, a wider breadth. I've helped broker, because I'm a psychiatrist, I've helped broker, I've not made referrals, but helped broker sort of an identifier services for residents. And yesterday I was teaching Scott about addiction services. So, I mean, our job is to help you find what you need, hopefully in the community that you are. The EAFAP, I'll say I'm biased. I worked for Homewood Health Center a number of years ago, and so did my husband in the business, and it's a good and better EAP. And then Paro also has supports, and Paro has a 24/7 hotline as well. So those are some of the resources we can help you access. Next, Scott. And there's the wellness app. Please download it on your phone. It has most of the wellness related policies, how to find a family doctor, how to get a cab home after on call. I certainly needed that during internship years, and how to report mistreatment. And personally, I use it for the Paro agreement is in the app. So there's lots there. So please download it and please use it.
Yes, and it's just available on the App Store. I have it on my phone. It's a wonderful resource, and a lot of it's just a couple little buttons away from what you need.
Next, I think I'll leave to you, Scott. We've gotten into some issues recently about part-time residency, so I thought we'd just touch on that.
Yeah, so this is just pointing to the policy that is on the website. It's a new policy, brand new for NOSM University, and it's been there's been some people working very hard at developing it, and now it's there for you to look at. It's something that if you are interested or find yourself in a situation where you may feel that you might need to go to part-time residency, there is a policy there that you can refer to. So this is just to show that it is on the website. I've done a screen capture to show where on the NOSM website you can find it. So it's under the policy, procedures, and forms under the postgraduate education. And there you'll find the policy, and you can read through that policy if you are interested or find yourself in a situation where you may choose to or may seek to go from full-time to part-time residency in terms of that. And there's some contact information that we have for our team. So there's the PGE Wellness is their general wellness email box. If you'd like to, you can contact me directly through my direct email. And then we have Dr. Diane Whitney as Assistant Dean Resident Affairs, or ADRA. As we know, our world is full of acronyms, so we quite get used to the acronyms, but the Assistant Dean Residence Affairs, or ADRA, Dr. Diane Whitney, and we have our Wellness Coordinator, Jamie Kieskala as well. But the PGE Wellness, you're more than welcome to use that as well as the initial contact, or contacts us directly. And we have some 24-hour crisis contacts quick glance summary. There will be a correction to this as we have the brand new transitioning to Homewood Health. And we're very excited by that. We're very excited. I think it's going to be a wonderful benefit to the residents. At this moment, LifeWorks is the carrier or the provider for that. But we are moving to Homewood Health, and we will update that information as soon as we have it and incorporate it into the slide. But beyond that, and I think Dr. Slade will maybe touch on this, Paro is a wonderful resource, and Paro has the collective agreement and so on, but they are a wonderful resource for you as a resident. So they do have the 24-hour helpline, and we've provided that information there for you. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We here at Wellness are here to support you, but we are not a crisis support center in that sense. So we want to provide that information to you. If you do find yourself in crisis, then there are 24-hour crisis contacts that we do have that are available to you, and Paro is a wonderful resource for that. As well, there's the CMA Wellness Support Line, the Canadian Medical Association Wellness Support Line, and we have the information there for you to contact as well. And that is our brief overview. We want to say that you are never alone. Both the team is here for you, and we are here to support you as best we can. We want to see everybody succeed through the transition, through the residency, and through their journey here at NOSM. So thank you for giving us the opportunity, and both myself and Dr. Whitney would love to connect with you at some time through the residency.
And we're welcome to connect with you individually, certainly. We've tried to get some groups together, which hasn't quite worked out quite so well, but if you have any ideas to how we can get people together in a group, and I'm always willing to offer a short meditation and then a group discussion. We just need some help and ideas from you people. Everybody's really busy.
And I can't help but see the closed captioning at the bottom, and it's not perfect. So I know the one slide, Dr. Whitty, you were talking about, and it's the closed captioning said the one resource was supported by NASA. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there that we do not have NASA supporting us. But
no, NASM, and then there's MOTP, Medical Officer Training Plan, and medical. Right? Sorry, if you don't know the initiatives, yeah. Okay.
But I just wanted to throw that little bit of levity in there. But please, by all means, reach out to us, and we'd be more than welcome, more than happy to support you. So thank you to the team, orientation team, and welcome to residency, and welcome to NOSM.
Thank you, Dr. Whitney and Scott, for that informative presentation around the services from the Residency Wellness Office. I'm sure that many of you will be in touch for different reasons over the coming few years. And so just to maybe actually give a bit of a distinction, you will meet many people over the coming days, and it may be confusing who's who and who serves which needs. And so the post-grad office is responsible for registration, credentialing, licensing. So you'll hear from us often with respect to policy matters. And Scott showed you one policy. There are several post-grad policies, and you will have links provided to you where all of those policies and forms are that will support you. You're going to meet your program coordinators this afternoon, very important individuals who will be guiding you every single day in your residency training as the discipline-specific program. So you'll meet your orthopedic surgery program coordinator, your family medicine program coordinator. They're your number one go-to for everything related to your program. If you have wellness needs, you'll be referred to the wellness office, for example. So, and I do see that some of our site administrative coordinators and the two academic health science center have different titles, but essentially your academic link in the hospitals are here, Karen and Lynn. You're going to meet all sorts of people who are also going to help you with the hospital environment. So we take a very networked approach to all of your support needs. So it might seem overwhelming with a number of different individuals, but everybody does have sort of unique and special parts of supporting you in residency training. And when in doubt, postgrad@nosm.ca. We will get you to the right people. Very easy to remember. So I'm going to introduce now Puya, who is the Paro representative. He's a member of our PGMEC, which is the governing committee for postgrad. And we've been really fortunate to have him in residency with us and on our postgrad medical education committee over the last few years, has guided us in several important key policies and provides an important Paro perspective. He's stepping in for Dr. Sabrina Slade, who we mentioned earlier. She's not able to be with us this morning. So thank you, Puya, for coming on short notice. And I'm going to turn the floor over to you as the Paro representative. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Puya. I'm one of the internal medicine residents at NOSM here. I'm just going to see if I can share my PowerPoint presentation. Can everybody see that? Okay, I see the thumbs up. Okay, well, first of all, congratulations to everybody and welcome to residency at NOSM. Making it through medical school is no small accomplishment. And you are beginning your new leg of your medical journey. One of the challenges of being a resident is that depending on the day, you will alternate between being a student, a teacher, and an employee. As patients, they may not understand what a resident is. So, you will definitely encounter this situation. I think one of the things you'll have to all get used to is to meet a patient and say, hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. I'm training to be a specialist, or I'm training to be a whatever field of medicine you're in. So I just want to take a very brief moment, and I think I flipped through my slides, talk to you about what PERO's role is. So PERO's mission is to advocate on behalf of its members, addressing professional and educational concerns in order to optimize the training and working experience of Ontario's newest doctors so that patients can receive the best possible care. Residents are unique in that we're employees as well as learners, and our priority is obviously what the mission says there, as well as one of our primary function is to negotiate the PERO-KEHO or the PERO-OTH collective agreement that covers terms and conditions of our employment. So this includes things like working conditions, maximum duty hours, our salary, et cetera, et cetera. You can access this on mypero.ca. And I would actually encourage everybody to read it through once before you start residency, because it gives you very important information on how and when to take vacation, when you should have your call schedules. That is very important. And I know new residents, sometimes it takes a while to wrap your head around this stuff. There's also a starting residency section on the website that you can look at. As well as information on health benefits and insurance that I'd encourage you to look at. So we sort of have three pillars that we work under when it comes to PERO. The first is advocating for optimal working conditions. So this would include things like, setting call maximums, vacation time, professional leave, call room requirements, and our salary so that you are in the best position to be able to work as a brand new minted physician. Another aspect of our work is looking at optimal training. We work as Jennifer mentioned, with the school's administration to make sure that resident input and resident voice is heard when it comes to medical education. If anybody here is interested in resident governance and these kind of things, it's a great opportunity to be involved and have your voice heard, and also to network with other people from the administration at NOSM. PERO also works towards optimal transition. So for you guys, it would be sort of the transition from medical student to residency. And then we also try to help residents who are transitioning from, one year to another, or perhaps graduating, which I think you will find useful probably down the road. This helpline, I think Dr. Whitney and Scott have mentioned, so I'm not going to belabor the point. It's available 24/7, and it's staffed by sort of professional volunteers who do these kind of things, and it's an anonymous helpline. This is the current general counsel team. So NOSM has 4 PERO members, and each year there's an election that takes place in July to select new members. So if anybody is interested in being involved with PERO, I would highly encourage you to run. You'll get an email from PERO's mid-July to submit a nomination. If you're interested, feel free to email me. I'll put my email in the chat box there, but you can also find it here. I guess it's too small. I'll put it in the chat box. And that's basically it for Pero. Today is going to be pretty overwhelming, I think, with information for everyone. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to send them my way. Now, I just can't figure out how to get out of this. Where's WebEx here?
Thank you, Puya. Well, again, thank you for stepping in. We appreciate your time this morning, and again, Pero, again, will become known to all of you throughout your residency training. A fantastic organization of resident leadership and advocates. There's been a question about the availability of slides and the recording, and yes, all of that will be available to you. And again, we do realize this is a lot of information, and we did want to spare you an entire 8-hour day of virtual listening to presentation after presentation around how do you submit your expenses, how do you get paid, how do you get your housing keep. All very important information, but we realize that presentation after presentation is challenging in the virtual environment. It used to be even challenging in person. So I'm just going to ask, it's probably been posted before, but I'll ask David or Kate to post the link to the information for new residents site. And that's where there are key FAQs for the different types of support services through the postgrad office, and not so much wellness. You've heard a lot from wellness this morning, but the kinds of other offices that we connect to that are important to your residency training administration. And all of these presentations will be loaded there, as well as recordings from today. So I am going to turn it now over to Dr. Robert Anderson, our Associate Dean, Postgrad Medical Education and Health Sciences. He's been very excited and patiently waiting, I think, to meet you virtually. And so I'll turn it over to Dr. Anderson for his remarks.
Hi, everyone. And we're way ahead of time. This is awesome. And I was thinking I don't have to talk till like, I think it was 9:20. I was thinking I was going to sleep in and join late, but instead I got up and was here and showered and all ready to go. I even had a coffee, and now we're half an hour ahead, which is great because the first time I think we had a full day session organized, and I had 10 minutes to give a talk, and I think I took 20. And then I think the next year they gave me 20. So this year they gave me 40. So I'm going to take the same talk and I'm going to like extend it out for as long as I possibly can. No, I won't at all. I'm going to reflect on a lot of the messages that I think you've heard already from other people. And I do just sort of recognize that today you are going to get lots and lots of information. There's no quiz at the end of today. I think the key message that you hopefully are hearing from everybody is if you have questions, ask, because training as a resident is complicated. But I will present, because I think in PowerPoint slides, so I'm going to present some PowerPoint slides and have a couple of little bits of homework and things for you. Because I don't get to teach very much anymore. The more you move on to being an administrative type, the less you get to do some teaching. So this is my chance to like teach everybody. Jen, I'm going to share my slides, but can you just confirm once I do that you're seeing my slides and not all my speaker's notes? Let me just...
We see your slides.
Slides, not speaker's notes. Perfect. All right. So as I said, I'm Rob Anderson. I am the Associate Dean for Postgrad. I'm also an anesthesiologist, and I'm an intensivist at HSN here in Sudbury. I'm a husband. I have two kids. One is 20 and one is 16. So there's all sorts of life challenges that go along with that. And I have 3 dogs, and they like to talk a lot. So now that I'm not on mute, if anybody walks by, you're going to get to meet my dogs as well, which is great. I wanted to just sort of take a moment here to really just congratulate you. You're a doctor, you're a physician in Canada, and that is amazing. That is a tremendous accomplishment, and you should take a moment and look back down the mountain because you have climbed a long, long way. Obviously, there's lots of information that we're going to get today. But I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff. What I want to do is take a moment to give you some advice, give you some challenges and some homework that will hopefully help you become an amazing doctor. Not just a doctor, but like a rock star. We want to help you along that journey, and I'm going to introduce you to some concepts and ideas that I've come across over time that I think are just really, really critical in that path. And I want to say that I didn't invent any of this. I steal it all from YouTube videos and talks that I've seen and books that I've read and things like that. So I didn't invent it, but I'm going to give you 5 assignments and missions that will help you on your road to success. So the first assignment is read this book. It's called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker. And Sean is, I say Sean like it's like he's my buddy, you know. Sean and I hang out. Sean is on Oprah at times, so Sean and I don't hang out. He's way for me. But he's a Harvard professor, and he has a pretty amazing TED Talk too, which is the short version of this book. And it's about the value of positive psychology. So I'm going to talk about some of the concepts of that, but the key one is around happiness. And so sometimes we almost kind of push happiness away and as even a positive thing to talk about. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to take happiness and turn it into suggesting that you're never feeling sad or feeling bad or anything like that. It's more that happy people tend to feel more positive emotions. It's not glee or ignoring the challenges. It's more about seeing seeing the positive things in life, appreciating life, and finding satisfaction. In a time where it's really easy to focus on the negative, and it gets more and more easy to focus on the negative. Just join Twitter and you'll find how easy it is to focus on the negative. Happy people tend to focus more on the positive. What he posits is that focusing on the positive will actually help you become more successful in all your endeavors. This is one of the core concepts of his talk and of his book. Is this idea that we work hard, and if we work hard enough, we're going to be successful. And then when we're successful, we're going to be happy. And that's kind of the ladder that we strive for. But if you think about that ladder, and I'm gonna talk about myself, but I would expect it probably resonates with most of you. We're gonna work hard because I want to get an 80. And then you get an 82. And then you go, well, I actually want an 85. And then you work hard to get an 85 because you want to get into medical school. And then you're like, oh, okay, I achieved that. I got into medical school, but now what I really want to do is I want to get into the best residency. So I'm going to work hard and then get into the best residency program. And you keep pushing that bar of success further and further back. And the problem with that is happiness is on the other side of that bar. So as we keep elevating the bar, we keep pushing happiness on the other side of the horizon. And his suggestion is that if you look at what really successful people do, they have it flipped on its head. They focus on finding satisfaction, finding joy, finding the things that really inspire them, focusing on being happy and putting effort into being happy. And that actually helps them work harder and work more efficiently, and ultimately are far more successful. So it's that paradigm shift that's really, really important to wrap your head around. There's some other really important messages around that. So if you look at, and there's tons and tons of evidence around this, that priming someone around positive mindsets actually primes them for high performance. So for example, positively primed doctors get accurate diagnoses more frequently. than negatively primed doctors. There's a bunch of studies on PhD students, because apparently they're, especially psychology students, apparently they're great fodder for doing research studies on psychology. And they see that in various different formats, they'll perform better on tests, they'll perform better on different tasks if they're positively primed. After cardiac surgery, if you're positively primed, your recovery times are faster. If they inject viruses into you, if you're a psychology student and you're positively primed, you have less symptoms than a negatively primed psychology student. So there's all sorts of evidence that being positively primed actually does help. And there's all sorts of different ways that you can talk about becoming positively primed and what that means for you. There's, exercise, meditation, unplugging, all of those things. They all work for someone. They don't all work for everyone. And I certainly am never going to be the person who suggests that everyone should do yoga. That's not the thing I'm going to suggest. But I do suggest that you need to find the thing that's for you. The last piece that I think is really important that came from some of the work that he curated is that change is possible. It's not that happier people do, it's more that people who pursue happiness perform better in all domains. Specifically, his work is around the business world. But people who do activities that actually, so people who are negatively primed, who start doing activities to become positively primed, actually perform better too. So it's not that you've had success and these positively primed people are successful and that's what makes them happy. That's not it at all. There's a fair amount of evidence to say it's the effort of becoming positively primed that actually helps you become more successful. So your mission, the first mission I'm going to give you, is to curate happiness. And curate is a very deliberately chosen word. Curating means to choose it, to value it, to work for it, to display it, to do all of those things, just like you would curate art. It's the effort putting into becoming, to focusing on your happiness. And that will pay off in success. So the second assignment that I have for you is watch Dr. Carol Dweck's TED Talk on developing a growth mindset. So you are all entering into a competency-based medical education world, and this enables residents to look at training not as a set of train tracks that if you even go slightly off, a disaster ensues, but it really allows for individualization and using time as a resource. The biggest predictor of your success is your mindset and how you approach learning and challenges. And you are going to hit challenges. You're going to hit challenges in clinical situations, learning difficult concepts, relationships, personal stuff. All of that is a potential in the next few years. Having a growth mindset will help you be more successful in that time. And what do we mean by a growth mindset? Well, there's really three key concepts. One is around the locus of control. Is the ability to influence things within me, or is it around me? It's about your response to feedback. So is feedback going to be criticism, or is it guidance? And your response to challenges. Is this who I am? Is this fixed sort of set? I can't do this, or is it that I can't do it yet? And a lot of Dr. Dweck's work is around the power of the word yet. You can add yet to just about any sentence on feedback, and it becomes positively primed to some degree. So you have achieved greatly at this point, and you didn't get here because you were smart or gifted. Don't limit yourself to those fixed attributes. You are here because you overcame challenges, you adapted to new settings and new ways of thinking, and you failed and you learned from it. That's why you're here. Embrace that dynamic ability to learn and grow, and don't be afraid of failing or looking dumb. Be afraid of not taking the opportunity to learn. You're going to get more performance data than any generations of learners before you. And you're going to ask for more, and you're going to say that you don't get enough, and that's like common. That's 100% of people. But comparatively, when we look at the amount of data, you're going to get way more than you've ever gotten before. But it's not about the amount of data that you get, it's what you do with it that matters. You need to become fluent in feedback. And really, I want you to start with the definition. This is one of my favorite definitions of feedback. So the keys there is that it's a process. It's not a thing. It's not an item that's hurled at you. And maybe you'll take it well or you won't take it well. It's a process by which you make sense of the information. So it's not just the information, but it's the understanding of that information about your performance and how do you use it. And then ultimately, the last part is around the outcome, that the quality of work or learning strategies changes. So it's that change that's the outcome that matters. So move forward with thinking about feedback as a process, as your process. So the mission here is to foster a growth mindset and build feedback fluency. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I don't know if anybody's seen this photo before. So this was a photo taken by an ambulance driver of a doctor just outside of an emergency room. So this doctor had just lost a young woman in a resuscitation in the emergency room. And they were very calm and cool and collected in the setting. They did a great job. And then they walked out here where they thought no one was looking and broke down. A adult physician with multiple degrees in public broke down. And this photo went viral because of the humanity in doing the work that we do. Then he got up and he walked back in and he saw the next patient who probably complained about how long they'd been waiting for them. Want to recognize that that the work we do is challenging. It will be challenging. It's incredibly rewarding, but it is challenging. And this could be you. This has been me. It's been all of us, or will be at times. And you will see colleagues struggling with this, and you'll have an opportunity to support them. Along these lines, I want you to read this book. So this was nominated for Canada Reads. It's a book by someone who lived in Northern Ontario, Jesse Thistle. And Jesse could have been any one of my patients. And Jesse wasn't a great guy. Like he was not compliant, or he wouldn't certainly be a great patient. Wasn't compliant. He was using drugs. He was not nice to anybody whenever he was interfacing with the healthcare system. But this story actually takes you from meeting him just as a child and taking you through his whole journey. And hearing his story and knowing his thoughts, his experiences really has allowed me to think differently about some of my more challenging patients, to be more compassionate, and to think more about some of the coping conversations that people have when they're working with the healthcare institutions. This has really changed how I think about things, and it's an amazing book, and I hope you have a chance to read it. And what I will say is that Jesse, in his 30s, was illiterate and addicted to drugs. Jesse's now a PhD candidate. I don't know if he's finished his PhD, but he's a professor at York University. It really is truly an amazing story. So your mission is to be kind. It's to be respectful and be compassionate. Be kind in how you speak and hear others, and be kind to yourself. Even on your bad days. You're not always going to be on your A game, and we're often the hardest on ourselves. And so be kind to yourself. Be the person you would want to be to your friend. You don't necessarily know the impact you will have on other people, but and how you can influence them. So one of my colleagues got a phone call from one of our other colleagues, and she was really, really upset. And my colleague spent a lot of time with that individual on the phone, just hearing them and supporting them. And about 2 years later, she won an award, a national award for women in leadership in medicine. And the story as to why she won was she was nominated by the person on the other end of the phone who had a suicide note. And it was that moment that helped her get through. And you never know when you're going to be the person doing that moment. So always, always, always do your best to be kind, respectful, and compassionate, and give people the time. Switching gears again, assignment number 4 is to watch this video. This is one of my favorite videos. There's a 6-minute version of this video that is put to music that's actually spectacular. Just even Admiral McRaven's voice is pretty cool to just hear him speak. So the way you find this video, the way I find it, is if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. This video will pop up everywhere, and you may have seen it already. I've used this with my kids. I've used it all the time, and I will say I walk past my son's room, and every once in a while I'll say, Jack, not changing the world today, are you? And he's like, oh yeah, no, Dad, I'm gonna go change the world. And so he'll go and make his bed. But the idea is it's about doing the little things right. And so a quote from that video is, to start each day with a task completed, to find someone to help you through life, respect everyone. Know that life is not fair and you will fail often. But if you take the time, if you take some risks, step up when the times are toughest, face down the bullies, lift up the downtrodden, and never ever give up. If you do those things, then the next generation and generations that follow will live in a world far better than the one that we have today. And what we started here will have indeed changed the world for the better. So what I want you to do is change the world. I want to be amazing in 2022 is not about just being a good clinician. You need to be a good advocate and a change maker. And everywhere you look, there's a cause. What resonates with you? What difference do you want to make? So is it care for the homeless? Is it food insecurity? And those are real prices. And those are actually prices in 2016 for a quarter of a watermelon for $37. Those are amazing social inequities that we need to strive to do better. Are you an aspiring trauma surgeon who's going to lead an initiative against gun violence? Is it vaccines? Is it bystander CPR like the Northern City of Heroes? Find something that you're passionate about and advocate for it. And advocacy is about change. It's not about being loud. It's not about being recognized. It's not about passion or about anger. And it's certainly not about a well-composed tweet. And surprisingly, it's not even about being right or winning an argument. The metric of success of advocacy is, did something change? You are doctors and you're leaders, and you have a platform and a responsibility to make the change that matters. There's a science to change. You're not necessarily just gifted to be an amazing change maker. There's a science to it, and there's work that you can do to become a change maker. There's tons of resources around change management, and so strive to become an expert on how to make change and leverage your platform to move the needle. But you might think, I'm just a resident. Like, what can I do? And this is one of my favorite signs. You have at least 2 university degrees, a network, inspiration, creativity, and a positive vision for a better world. You are positioned in one of the top 1% of change makers on this planet. So this is the tamed down version of this little sign that I saw at a conference from Dr. Simon Fleming, who is an amazing resident advocate out of the UK. Don't let anybody tell you you're too young to do something. A baby shark is still a damn shark. So your mission is to change the world. The last assignment I have for you is to read this book. It's my favorite kids book, and I've read this to my kids a number of times. And there are 5 different stories in this book. The first one is around is the Sneetches. And so the Sneetches, if you haven't read it, is a story about, and if you have read it, you're going to be like, where are you going with this, Dr. Anderson? But this whole book is something I actually reflect on a fair bit as I read it to my kids. So the Sneetches is a story about star-bellied Sneetches who exclude and isolate other ones who don't have stars, and how after all of the niches were taken advantage of by their lack of inclusiveness and how mean they were to everybody. They lost everything. They lost all their money, but they found actually a new sense of community and a new sense of respect. The Zacks is one of my favorite books. The Zacks is about this north-going Zacks and a south-going Zacks, and they bump into each other in a desert, and neither one will take even one step to one side to allow the others to pass, and then they end up stuck there in a desert, and the world just moved ahead without them. And it's about the value of compromise to resolve conflict and respect, create a space where everyone wins. Too Many Daves is a story about deep diversity. It's about Mrs. McCabe. She had 23 sons and she named them all Dave. And that was not a very smart thing to do. And she really was painting them all with the same brush. And over time, she came to realize that there are differences between all of them. And this is a story of all the other names she wished she could have called them. And the last one was, What Was I Scared Of? This was a story, this terrified me as a kid, about these pale green pants with nothing inside them. And it's about facing fears and finding out that there was nothing really to be afraid of when you dive into it. And it's about courage. Being comfortable with the uncomfortable and being courageous is going to be an important challenge for you moving forward. So dealing with such diversity of thoughts, experiences, and communication approaches, beliefs, and manifestations of disease can be scary, but embrace them. Embrace those fears. Remember that the most important diagnostic and therapeutic device in medicine is a chair. It's a fast-paced world with lots of pressures. However, our job is to our patients, and a chair forces you to invest the time to hear those patient stories and understand them. Looking at complaints against MDs either online or at the college, the theme is patients are not being heard. A chair brings you eye to eye with people and can break down hierarchy. If you invest the time in hearing patients, you're more likely to make the right diagnosis, you're more likely to have patients who are compliant with their therapy, and you're more likely to have patients who are satisfied with their care, regardless of the outcome of their medical diagnosis. And the last thing I want to show you is this. This is a jacket that I have, and so this was created by Regina Holiday. So she is a patient advocate out of the States, and she has a thing called the walking gallery. And so what you can do is you can send your story, your patient care story or personal health care story to Regina, and she will paint a mural of your story on the back of a jacket. And the only payment that she requires is that you wear the jacket twice a year at a conference. And if anybody asks you about your jacket, you tell them your story. And so if you want to know why compassion and hearing patients matters so much to me, and you see me wearing my jacket, just ask me for my story, and I'll tell you the story of my dad and our personal healthcare story. Because it's really, really important. So your mission is to hear your patient stories. So your 5 missions, the only homework I'm going to give you for the entirety of your residency, other than the anesthesia residents on the call, because I'll give you a lot more homework, is to curate happiness, to foster and build a growth mindset, to be kind and compassionate, even in your most difficult days, change the world, and hear your patient stories. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Jen and stop sharing my screen if I can figure that one out.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Anderson. I think, annually we enjoy this talk, and I hear Rob often telling people of all levels around him to change the world. It's a very common, inspiring sentiment from Dr. Anderson, and we're very privileged that he's our postgrad dean, because he certainly inspires us all to do exactly the 5 missions that he's outlined today. And that's how we lead postgrad and hold those values to our heart. And we hope that you find that over the next several years of your training with us. That's the conclusion of the presentation parts of the postgrad office orientation today. There's much more to come depending on the varying schedules within your programs, and each program does have a different schedule, so I won't go over that now. You should have received that from your postgrad coordinator. Some of you are carrying on this afternoon, and I think some tomorrow, but you should all have the details pertinent to your program. Just a reminder for the international medical graduates, I believe you have a meeting with Dr. Chiberi Ganabanaki at 10:15, so you're asked to join that to be introduced to the International Medical Graduates Coordinator and to have a talk yourself. And I think we're pretty much wrapped up. So I do see there's some comments and appreciation in the chat. Again, any questions, postgrad@nosm.ca will get you to the right person, and then certainly you will meet your program coordinator soon. Thanks everyone for your time this morning, and we look forward to seeing a lot more of you.